Welcome to Ninth Flashback. This is the first part of our series on some of the most impactful films that explore political themes.
I want you to be my VP. I want you. You're my vice.
Well, George, I overseeing bureaucracy, military, energy, and foreign policy.
Yeah, right. I like that.
First up is Vice, a film whose title can refer to both the vice president role and has a double meaning, hinting at moral complexities. This biographical portrayal focuses on Dick Cheney, who served as vice president under George W. Bush. The film traces Cheney's journey, from early struggles with personal challenges to influential roles in Congress, the Department of Defense, and as CEO of a multinational corporation before stepping into the vice presidency. Due to George W. Bush's openness to diverse viewpoints, Cheney's recommendations often influenced presidential decisions, especially in foreign policy matters. This film presents Cheney as one of the notable figures in modern political history. Directed by Adam McKay, with production by Brad Pitt and Will Ferrell, Vice stars Christian Bale as Dick Cheney, alongside Amy Adams, Steve Carell, Sam Rockwell, and Jesse Plemons. Running for 2 hours and 10 minutes, this is a complex biographical film that may be best appreciated by viewers interested in the intricacies of political figures and their legacies.
When you're a poor kid from a poor family, and when a priest pays attention to you, it's a big deal. How do you say no to God?
Spotlight.
6% act out sexually.
6% is 90 priests.
If there were 90 of these bastards, people would know.
I am here because I care. We're going to tell this story. We're going to tell it right.
Spotlight refers to an old investigative team at the Boston Globe. In 2001, the newspaper's editor informs the team about Cardinal Bernard Law's knowledge of a child abuse case in Massachusetts, which he failed to address. Through further research, the Spotlight team uncovers that child abuse cases in Massachusetts and Boston were far more widespread than expected, with Cardinal Law aware of many incidents. They find that he used his influence among politicians, police, and media to cover up these cases and halt investigations. Directed by Tom McCarthy, Spotlight stars Mark Ruffalo, Michael Keaton, Rachel McAdams, John Slattery, Stanley Tucci, and Liev Schreiber. The film has a runtime of around 2 hours and 10 minutes and is a social drama, making it less suitable for family settings. I consider it a strong film, likely to appeal to those interested in critiques of religion and political power.
از این بر آقا بذار داخل برو عینکتو در بیا جلو عینکتو در بیا عینکتو بردار با اون آقا بودی؟
درستی؟
با این آقا بودی؟ برو تو یه گروه شما خانم با شما
We're together, yes.
اینجا انگلیسی حرف نمیزنی اینجا ایرانه فارسی حرف میزنی
بس دیگه برو تو بشین.
In the early months of the 1979 Iranian Revolution, students supporting Imam Khomeini occupied the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, protesting against Mohammad Reza Pahlavi's entry into the United States for cancer treatment. They took 66 embassy staff members hostage, except for 6 who managed to escape through a back door and found refuge at the Canadian ambassador's residence. The U.S. government attempted to keep these 6 individuals' identities secret and enlisted a covert intelligence agent, Tony Mendez, to plan their escape from Iran. Among the various plans proposed, Mendez chose one that involved disguising the 6 as crew members of a science fiction film, titled Argo, which they would claim to be filming in Iran. The cover story presented them as filmmakers wanting to leave the country after scouting for this fictional movie. The film Argo, directed by Ben Affleck, who also produced it along with George Clooney, stars Bryan Cranston, Alan Arkin, and John Goodman. With a runtime of around 2 hours, it's a historical drama that offers a broadly appealing story. It's a highly regarded film, especially for those interested in historical narratives with suspenseful elements. Next, we have a film that follows the story of Robert Gerard Sands, known as Bobby Sands, who passed away after a 66-day hunger strike in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Sands became a symbol of his time, highlighting the complexities surrounding his era's political tensions. He was sentenced to prison for activities connected to his affiliations and sought recognition as a political prisoner. Sands led a notable hunger strike, advocating for conditions such as case reviews, access to education, regular correspondence, weekly visits, and voluntary labor arrangements. This film is directed by Steve McQueen and stars Michael Fassbender and Liam Cunningham. Running for about 1 hour and 36 minutes, it fits within the genres of biography and prison drama. Due to some intense scenes, it may not be suitable for all viewers, but it's a critically regarded film, particularly for those drawn to historical and biographical themes.
I'm just wondering what you do for a living.
I'm Charlie Wilson. I represent the Texas 2nd
I'm standing on the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. If they get weapons, they say they will win.
Why is Congress saying one thing and doing nothing?
Well, tradition mostly.
You sit at the intersection of the State Department, the Pentagon, and the CIA. The three agencies you would need to conduct a covert war.
Yeah.
Charlie Wilson, a lively congressman with little initial interest in international issues, is influenced by a close acquaintance to visit an Afghan refugee camp in Pakistan, where people have been displaced due to conflict. After witnessing their struggles, he returns to Congress determined to increase aid to support the Afghan people in their resistance. Though based on real events, the story of Charlie Wilson's war illustrates both Wilson's intentions and the broader context of U.S. involvement at the time, which was shaped by Cold War dynamics. Directed by Mike Nichols, the film stars Tom Hanks, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Julia Roberts, Amy Adams, Ned Beatty, and John Slattery, and runs for 1 hour and 40 minutes. It's a biographical drama with historical undertones, suitable for a broad audience, including those interested in political and historical themes.
This Fruta film is the proof they didn't count on, Lou. We gotta get our hands on it.
That means we have to subpoena Time Live.
Let me ask you something, Lou. Why not just shoot Kennedy coming up Houston? There's plenty of time. It's out in the open.
The film JFK opens with President Eisenhower's farewell speech, where he comments on the influence of the military-industrial complex. The film delves into the questions surrounding John F. Kennedy's assassination, exploring alternative viewpoints on the official narrative. It examines the theories that other influences could have had a role, prompting viewers to reflect on the complexity of historical events. Directed by Oliver Stone, JFK stars Kevin Costner, Kevin Bacon, Tommy Lee Jones, Laurie Metcalf, Gary Oldman, Joe Pesci, Geo Sanders, and CeCe Spicek. With a runtime of 3 hours and 8 minutes, it's a suspenseful thriller, while its length and intricate subject matter may make it less suited for family viewing. This thought-provoking film will resonate with audiences intrigued by alternative perspectives on historical events, particularly those surrounding John F. Kennedy's assassination.
Hace mucho frío ahí abajo. Sí. Says it's quite cold down here. You better put on your sweater.
I think you should wait upstairs.
Todos ellos han sido identificados. These have all been identified. Vengan por acá.
In Missing, directed by Costa Gavras, the story follows Ed Horman, a conservative American businessman searching for his son, a journalist who disappeared after a recent coup in Chile. Although Ed initially has different views from his son's wife, his investigation uncovers troubling events tied to the regime in power. As he questions U.S. embassy officials, he begins to suspect that information about his son's fate is being withheld. Set against this personal quest, the film highlights some of the actions associated with the regime in Chile. Starring Jack Lemmon and CeCe Spicek, with music by Vangelis, the film runs for about 2 hours. Although it's not primarily aimed at family audiences, it's accessible and highly regarded by viewers with a keen interest in historical dramas. In another Costa Gavras film, a fictional leftist group captures an American engineer, Philip Michael Santore, who they claim is involved in intelligence activities. Set in Uruguay, this story brings out the complex dynamics between outside influences and local governance in Latin America. The film delves into these relationships through its suspenseful storyline and character-driven approach. This film, also directed by Costa Gavras, stars Yves Montand, Renato Salvatore, Otto Eduard Hasse, and Jack Weber. It runs for about 2 hours. Classified as a thriller, it's not suitable for family environments and is intended for mature audiences. I would rate it as excellent, aimed at a specific, politically aware audience.
Merde, c'est pas lui! Je t'avais bien dit que c'était pas lui! Plus de photos, plus de photos.
Another film by Costa Gavras depicts how the ruling class uses violence, staging, and fabricated cases to eliminate opponents while obstructing journalists. Set in a fictionalized country with an oppressive government, although it references real events from 1970s Greece, the story serves as a metaphor for the clash between intellectuals and a repressive ruling class. Featuring Yves Montand, Irene Papas, Jean-Louis Trintignant, Georges Jarret, and Charles Denner, this thriller runs for about 2 hours and 7 minutes. It's not suitable for children or family viewing, and is considered one of Costa Gavras's masterpieces. In my opinion, it may be the most significant political film in cinema history, though its appeal will be strongest among a specific, politically engaged audience. The film The Battle of Algiers depicts the guerrilla warfare and bombings carried out by the Algerian National Liberation Front against French forces stationed in Algeria. The French, in turn, used torture and systematic executions to defend against these attacks. Although the French military initially suppresses the Algerian fighters, these conflicts ultimately become the main catalyst for Algeria's independence a few years later. Directed by Gillo Pontecorvo, the film stars Sadi Youssef, Brahim Hagiag, and Thomas Nahri, with music composed by Ennio Morricone. Running approximately 2 hours and 15 minutes, it is not particularly suited for family viewing, although it may be appropriate for children over 13 or 14. It is widely regarded as a landmark in cinema, not only in the political and war genres, but also for a specific, thoughtful audience. Well, friends, the 10 main films have been introduced in this first section. In the upcoming short section, Jumping Popcorn, I'll introduce 4 lesser-known films. If you've come across these titles but weren't interested in watching them, rest assured, you're not missing anything special. The first one is Conquest, or The Victory of 2 Dimes and 11, a biography of Nicolas Sarkozy. This French film is really for a niche audience, like those studying Sarkozy specifically, perhaps for a thesis or project. Otherwise, it's fairly dry and not particularly engaging. Next up is W, about George W. Bush, directed by Oliver Stone in 2018. While it may appeal to those interested in Bush's life, the film itself doesn't stand out as particularly good or compelling. Nixon, 1995, also directed by Oliver Stone, is the third in his trilogy about U.S. presidents, following JFK. However, Nixon is also unremarkable. Finally, we have All the President's Men, 1976, by Alan J. Pakula, starring Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. This film directly addresses the Watergate scandal. For those interested in Nixon and Watergate, it's worth noting that Nixon, 1995, also explores this subject to some extent. Anyone curious about Watergate could watch either Nixon or All the President's Men to gain further insight into this significant historical issue. That concludes the first part of the Best Political Films introduction. There's one more part remaining, featuring a similar number of films. You can find the titles and release years in the description below. Dear friends, stay happy, healthy, And well, until the next flashback. Goodbye.
تحيا الجزائر تحيا الجزائر تحيا الجزائر تحيا الجزائر تحيا الجزائر